Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
Yo, what up?
Welcome to the 236th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with a wonderful pile of co-hosts today. We got Andrew Norman, Mikey A, and JJ here. And today's topic is part 5 of the beginner series, What Freedom Feels Like to Me. Would you like to open this up, Andrew, and say what that means to you and why you are ecstatically doing cartwheels and gymnastics to be here today?
I would love to. I'm sweating doing cartwheels on my way in. Where my newcomers at, man? Where my newcomers at, man? I love you, Mikey. I miss you, man. Good to see you. Welcome back home. It's been a little while. JJ, you already know what time it is, man. Yeah, man. What freedom feels like for me today. I was sitting ruminating on this last night, and it just got real simple for me. Like choices, right? Like choices. Freedom for me, arrives at my doorstep in the form of choices every single day. I have a choice to be here right now, clean. And I didn't know how to stop using drugs. You know what I mean? There was nothing in this world or outside of this world that I knew of that could get me to stop using. You know what I mean? So I didn't have a choice. I thought I had choices, but I didn't. I didn't have any choices, And so what freedom feels like for me today, what I thought it meant was like doing whatever I wanted, staying out all night, drinking, partying, doing my thing, escaping my feelings, not being told what to do, even if it was like I won't doing it. Like that's what I thought freedom was. Like I was just kind of a rebel without a cause, if you will. And what it really was like I was in avoidance mode. I was like in that survival mode. Using, there's nothing I can really say to that. Like I was wrapped up, and I was enslaved for like that next fix. You know what I mean? Like all that shit that comes with it to escape my moods, my anger. I just put substances on it. That's what I did. So I had that illusion that I had control. I like there was an illusion of control there. I thought like control was my superpower. Like I thought I had this thing figured out. Because nobody could really mess with me, right? I was just using and I was just doing my own thing, and I didn't rely on anybody else to do me, right? I was just doing me. And addiction steals that choice that we have, that we think we have. I never ever felt at peace. Looking back at it now that I'm like clean and I got a little time, I can look back at it and like feel peace today and not be wrapped up in that chaos that I was, every single day. I remember waking up and like before my feet even hit the ground, man, my mind was racing, just a million miles a minute, going like, what do I got to do? There's some kind of background noise. Do you hear that background noise every 2 seconds? It's like it's like somebody talking. I love y'all. I just don't want that to happen the whole time. I remember before I hit my feet on the ground, where my mind was just racing through a whole day of like what I had to do to not feel sick. Like that was it. And then when I would get that fix, like I felt a little peace there, right? Like going to get it, or like when I had it secured, or like I knew at 5 o'clock I was going to be going to getting it. So I had some light at the end of the tunnel. I felt a little peace. I felt a little freedom there. But bro, we've talked about this before, man. I almost felt more peace going to get the drugs when I got the call than when I even got them in my hand. So you want to talk about like a mental disease? Like we got a mental thing going on here. Like I know for a fact it's mental, man. As soon as I got that call, I wouldn't even be near the drugs. Wouldn't even know if that was the dude calling, and I felt better immediately. It's crazy. So I'm gonna pass that to you, Mikey. Like freedom for me, right? Like I got a new DOC, right? They talk about DOCs, drug of choice. choices, man. I got a new DOC. I got choices. I got a choice to be here with y'all today, to be sitting here trying to help somebody out and sharing my experience, strength, and hope with three of my favorite dudes in the whole world. So I'm gonna pass that to you, Mikey, man. What does freedom feel like for you today? Let's break that open.
First off, good morning, gentlemen. I can't believe y'all are in 236,000th, whatever episode you're
Crazy.
on. It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. What does freedom mean for me? It took me a long time to really understand and grasp that, I was bound by myself and my self-centeredness and all that this my entire life. And man, I love that you just talked about choices because it's exactly what freedom is for me today, man. It's freedom from the bondage of self, first and foremost. That's like a daily thing for me because sometimes I still get wrapped up in my own stuff. But then with that comes choices, man. And you know, we always talk about that freedom from active addiction and that in and of itself, I talk about that a lot, man. Is like I don't have to wake up and feed a monster before I feed Mikey today, right? And I'm just so grateful for that, man, because I'm starting to go into what a good guy that I know says PMS, that pre-medallion syndrome. We're about to be a month inside of 5 years back in this process, and you
Okay,
talk
I know that
about
dude.
you talk about freedom, man. The program, the steps, the things that I've worked have allowed me to be able to have these choices today, right? Like I worked a long 12-hour shift last night. I slept for about 3.5 hours, and I have the freedom to wake my happy ass up clean and
I
come do
woke
a
him up.
podcast. And we're talking to some newcomers. That is such a beautiful thing, man. Like they told me when I got to the program I'm in, man, uh, just keep coming back, right? They told me, don't give up before the miracle happens. And somewhere along the line, I was given this freedom and I have all these choices today. And I'm just grateful, man, that to me, freedom, I don't have to be wrapped up in myself all the time anymore. I don't have to worry about what you're doing, what everybody else is doing. And sometimes, man, it's just about being able to sit still in my own thoughts. And that's one of the most beautiful things that this program has given me is to be able to be alone in my head and I don't have to take off running and burn everything down to the ground today, man. Freedom is something that I hold near and dear because I was bound to the drugs for so long and that lifestyle. And today I don't have to live like that. And I'm just forever grateful. And yeah, man, it's good to be back, boys. Good
Woohoo,
morning. I
baby.
love y'all.
Welcome home, bro. Welcome home.
Pass it
Five
over
years?
to
5 years? Come
JJ.
on, man. Half your way on that. Half your way to the granite key tag, big dog. Come on, man.
JJ, what does freedom feel like to you, brother?
Gotta unmute.
Yeah, I had to mute myself because my boy was yelling up from downstairs. And I'm JJ, and I'm an addict, and I didn't use today, which gives me a shot to be here because I wouldn't be here if I had picked up this morning or yesterday, man, that's for certain. So, the freedom from active addiction is this profound. And I'm so grateful, and we're promised that I would lose the desire to use. And that's happened to me. And, that's such a freedom. You guys have mentioned it, not to be trapped in that disease of where I had no choice, man. I just had a cop. And I needed that. I thought I needed that to get through life. Um, freedom, and even with the drugs, it really, it guys have me thinking about responsibility. I hated that word, and to get high and be free. I did a lot of hitchhiking in my early days on the planet, man, and just on the road and let my free flag fly, and um, just it was one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, wherever I ended up. It was very freaking cool. Um, and my addiction was with me. And you know, today, and really since my recovery, I've learned that the responsibilities. The reason I hated that word is because I didn't have the ability to respond to life, to my position in life. I was full of self-centered fear, as well as, I wanted to experience life and not the way I wanted to be free. I didn't want to be under the thumb of the man, and that was like the motivation. And but along with that, I was missing some personal responsibility. And what I've really learned in my recovery, because the tools that I used to experience freedom, to what I thought was freedom, that peace that would come for a minute from whatever chemical it was that I was using, but it was short lived. And I put such faith in that. But my faith today is in not using, because it didn't work. That's the truth. And I had to admit that in the first step when I came here, newcomer. Um, so for me, the freedom of being able to respond to my life today, responsibility is it's a very powerful freaking word, and I embrace it, the ability to respond. And really, I need the principles of what I learned here in recovery in order to respond to life in a healthy way. Uh, Without that self-centered fear, without that selfishness that I need to take before I give, because that was part of the trap before. So yeah, I'm digging it, man. The freedom and the peace that comes when not using is something that it's my choice to give that away. Why would I fucking want to give that away? Not me, not today. I'm gonna keep coming back.
That's my big bro
Love you
right there.
guys.
I love
Thank
you, JJ.
Love
Love
you,
you
JJ.
guys so much. Good seeing you, Mikey.
Where you at, Milan? Come talk to us,
Freedom,
buddy.
Andrew started out and was talking about, leave me alone, do my drugs. And really, freedom originally for me was let me do whatever the fuck I want, when I want, whether it was drugs, sex, whatever, like speeding. Like I just was like, I am lawless. Catch me if you can, and I got caught a lot, and hurt a lot of people. And, but then it was coming in, coming in to recovery. My initial thing was just please keep me alive and straight. And my freedom initially was run by fear. I was running from not wanting to die. And so it was kind of like, almost forced compliance. If I want to stay alive, this is the only way, because my way wasn't keeping me alive. Like I was in a hospital. They're like, you're dead, you're back. Oh, here we go. So it is quickly, to me quickly, in 2 years and 4 months, it's quickly developed in that I love my freedom. And through this program and a good deal through the deliberations in these podcasts, I've really realized that one of the greatest sources of my freedom is discipline, perseverance, and commitment. Like those three things that to me, in my active addiction, would have been like the jail sentence of my life. Like it was like, don't make me do something I don't want to do. Like now I get up and I do certain things. And the result of that is that I feel greater energy. I feel greater love. I feel greater connection to the universe. I feel a greater surrender. I figured out, some good forgiveness techniques, like things that are like that let me let go of that baggage, because it's like gone from this motivation of what can I get or what can I get from you to how can I love you. And like that freedom in itself is just like, I'm not working a side gig in my love,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to actually love. I'm going to leave it there because I love you guys excessively. Andrew, you want to ask the first question?
Absolutely. Coming to you, Mikey. So when did I first realize I wasn't actually free? When did I first realize I actually wasn't free? Tell us about
That's a
that.
good one.
Oh man, that's got to be sometime after I stumbled my happy ass into the fellowship that I attend, because the judge told me I needed to go get a piece of paper signed, and I didn't know that I was bound to some substances. I didn't know that I used them to cope with life and all these feelings. And it was kind of one of those moments, man. I talk about this because I fought it at first, man. They told me I have a disease, and I'm like, what do you mean I'm defective? Like, this is bullshit. Like, no, man, like there's no way. Like, I just haven't figured out the right chemical composition yet. I haven't figured out the right way to play chemist yet, right? And that was to me, man, because they talk about the freedom from active addiction, right? And that's when I realized that I was an addict, and I used some substances to try and quote unquote set myself free, because I thought I did for the entire time. If you ever hear me talk about the beginning of me starting to use, man, it was like it made me comfortable in my own skin. It made me able to deal with life. It made me able to not care what you thought about me. It made me able to, talk to girls a lot easier, if that's fucking easy for people to believe, because if you know me, I like to talk, and I'm a social butterfly, but I had no idea, man, until I started to learn about this thing called the disease of addiction. And that's when I realized that I'm not free, because me too, man. I thought me going out partying all night, doing whatever I wanted to, sun's coming up, fucking, well, we're gonna go watch the sunrise now, and I thought that was freedom for me, man. I thought that was me living my best life. These are the cards that I was dealt, and this is how it's gonna be, right? And it wasn't until I came into the rooms that I finally realized that I'm not free. In fact, I'm bound to this substance, all these substances, not just one that I originally thought when I came into the rooms. And then I found out other things, and I'm like, man. And furthermore than that, man, staying around in this process, I found out it's not just about the substances, right? And I can use anything that I think is going to take me out of me. And that's when I realized this thing's bigger, right? I have the disease of addiction, and I no longer had to fight it. And I'm just grateful that I was able to keep an open mind and be honest with myself, and finally come to that point where I admitted it. And yeah, man, being bound to that shit sucks. It's for the birds, y'all. Don't do it. Just don't do it. I appreciate y'all.
It is for the
JJ,
birds. Love
how
you,
are you,
Mikey.
big dog? How are
I'm
you?
going to ask you, JJ, you ready? When did I first realize I wasn't actually free? Tell us about that.
Oh, man. What's that word, denial? It's like I fucking knew I wasn't free for years, man. For years, I knew I wasn't free. I did things that I didn't want to do. I had to use, it was my priority, but I didn't realize it. That's what we understand, if we're lucky enough to get into recovery, to begin to hear a message of change, of hope. That denial word, that I didn't know that I was lying to myself, that it wasn't working out. I am not free. And it started out, I was remembering last night, I was thinking about freedom, and one of my hitchhiking trips, I'm out in Big Sur, and there's this 25-mile Howdy Trail back to a Buddhist monastery, and I had hiked back 5 or 7 miles, and I remember the mountain streams, the freedom that I felt, and of course there was copious amounts of good pot I was smoking, and it was this, it was ultimate freedom as I understood, but the progression of that, the reliance on the chemicals, I didn't know, that the alcohol and the other chemicals very slowly, man, they took my freedom away. And I didn't know it. At the first meeting that I was taken to, and I was a little drunk and a little high that day, and I'd never been in a recovery meeting. And it was a predecessor fellowship. And man, and the woman shared, I've told you guys this, she told a freaking story. She was 5 years clean. And I remember thinking, who the fuck would want to be 5 years clean? And but
Lame.
everything she said, I'm going like, man, I've been there. That sucks, and yeah, and like, wow, you got free from that. And it's like, and she said she was an alcohol addict, and I went, I had not a fucking clue, man. I had not a clue. I just thought, I was fucking crazy and that I needed to consume, as much alcohol and drugs as I could to maintain my freedom. Wow, man. I didn't know. I didn't know the fucking prisoner I was. And, and the beautiful thing is that the beginning of getting out of that prison cell is not using for today, and then understanding what it is that I got to do, to continue changing from that self-centered, scared motherfucker. Hey, so my beeper went off. I'm done. I love you
I
guys.
love you, JJ. You're amazing. I love you so
Love
much.
you guys.
Milan, this is
Yeah.
so fun. When I miss y'all so much. When did I first realize I wasn't actually free, Milan? Tell us about that, bro.
Man, just listening to Mikey and JJ, it's just like, somebody asks a question, something comes into your brain, and then it's just like shattered by what you guys said. For me, it takes me back to I always was like, well, I still got my house. I still maintaining some kind of job. My wife's only left me a few times, but I wasn't living by the bridge pushing a cart around, right? And so like I never thought I was the full-on addict or alcoholic, and it wasn't really until I was in treatment and they talked about, for the alcoholic side of things, the phenomenon of craving and the obsession of the mind, right? And for me, it's like, I'm like, whoa, this train never fucking stops once it leaves the station. Like that phenomenon of craving, I was like, I would eat your left arm to gobble the drugs out of your right hand. Like, there was no stopping me. And the obsession of the mind, the obsession that my mind could control this, that was the biggest fucking lie of my life. And it had gone on and on for decades. And so, like those two things, if I had known that, I think I would have had an earlier admission of powerlessness. I don't know if it would have changed the timing of my life, but like I certainly was able to deny to myself, like, and my wife and other people who were concerned and intervening me, and I was just like, no, I wanted to leave an intervention to go use more. Like I remember, like, could you guys get this over with so I can leave? And like that's how freaking trapped I was. And so there was, first of all, there was the addiction level of it, and then there was my ego level of it, where like I literally, was just fooling myself about the, like, deluding myself about how everything was, right? And then, my perception was so clouded from the drugs and my ego, and then it was also like where I was, like, I'll be happy when, like, I knew nothing really about living presently because I was either in shame or guilt, or I was in like, negative forecasting just to enable using. Like I'd gotten in such a pattern of that where there was never like, I remember just like forgetting to breathe. I was so far out of my body, and be like, holy fuck, and like just off the fucking mark. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I love you guys. Can't wait to hear you, Andrew.
I love you. I love you. So when did I first realize I wasn't actually free? Again, y'all just shattered all my answers because I'm just like ruminating when y'all are talking. But like I remember sitting there. I remember telling myself like I could stop when I wanted to. And I thought like I had this thing, like I thought I still had control over this thing. And then I remember there's a few times where I told myself I was going to stop on a certain day, and then I did, and then I would use again. But I didn't really feel any too much around that. And then like I remember the last time where that happened, and I remember sitting there using by myself. And this is after I said, look, I'm going to stop doing this. I remember something happened. I got a promotion at my job or whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to stop using. And then I didn't. And like my mind keeps track of when I don't push through those times, right? Like when I say I'm going to stop, or like I set a deadline or something, and I don't mentally push through that time and make it happen, like my mind keeps track. And I remember like breaking down, I was sitting there using, and that was like, it was like this realization of like I can't trust myself anymore, right? Like I can't trust my own thoughts. I can't trust my actions. Like what I'm like feeding myself bullshit all day, constantly feeding myself bullshit. Bro, we talk about like one side of my brain selling bullshit, the other side buying that shit, like that in a nutshell. I remember like being like on one side and then answering it with the right answer and just being so full of shit on myself. Like it was like it was amazing to realize, but it was very, very it was just so belittling, right? Like it just really made me feel like nothing. It made me feel like trash, man. It made me feel really, really bad. And so like that moment when I realized I wasn't free, because like freedom requires choices. We're going to be coming to this a lot today. Like freedom requires choices, and I didn't have those. I realized I had no choices. Even when I was making the choices, I just was not following through like every time. And that was terrifying. But that was terrifying. Because I thought that I could always get myself out of trouble. Like even if we were drinking, driving, like we're drunk, and I was always the one driving, I could always get us there safely. Like I could always do what I had to do to stay right in a situation, or I thought, right? And coming to the point where like I cannot trust my own thoughts and my actions was so terrifying to me. And the world got smaller, right? Like I was not free, and the world just kept getting smaller for me, man. And it was like I had to let go. I had to let go. We talk about surrender. That's what we come to, that surrender process, and being able to turn that thing over to something bigger than anything that's in my mental capacity. And like I remember days when I would just sit there, and my entire emotional state was wrapped up in whether I was going to get that phone call from that person or not. Didn't matter what. I could have had like a wedding. I could have had a graduation. Could have had anything going on. It didn't matter. None of it mattered. I could have been sick. It didn't matter. As long as I got that phone call, man, I was straight. If I didn't, bro, don't come looking for me. Do not come looking for me. You don't want to find me. And so that's when I realized, bro, I was not free anymore, man. I did not have any choices anymore. And so it was a sad, very, very terrifying experience at that point. And I didn't know what to do. And it was it was drawn out too, because it was like I was like in this panic mode and didn't know if there was a way out. Right. Like I just thought this was like the next stop on my way to like nothing, you know? So I'll pass that. I love you guys, man. A lot.
Love you guys. Mikey, you got a question for JJ?
Oh, I sure do, JJ. I'm glad
This is
he
so
asked
fun.
that question, because was there a specific moment you first felt free in your recovery journey?
Ooh.
Was there a specific moment? My land.
As if Mikey and I talked about this beforehand or something. This is crazy. I love you, man.
A specific moment that I felt free. Well, it's like there's a quantum leap from, realizing how fucked I was in that first meeting, right? There's some clean dates. So let's say, my last clean date, which, fortunately, I can still remember that far back. And I'm just been blessed, man, for fucking more than 1 24-hour period. You know, my recovery this time, it was because I had a desire, man. It was so clear to me that I was fucked. My desire not to use, no matter fucking what. And that predecessor fellowship, those cats, man, they loved me despite, embraced me, and I learned the program. I learned the process of freedom. Admitting the truth, the very first step. Mikey, ask me the question again.
Was there a specific moment you first felt free in your recovery journey?
I bet you, because I would say March 15th, fucking 1988, right? When I made that commitment, bro, I would imagine, right, that was like that, maybe that moment that you're talking about. When I first heard the question, though, like right behind it was like bam, 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 bam. The freedom I felt, like, fuck you, man, I ain't using. Fuck you, I ain't using. It's not happening, you know? And it's like, and it's like one day at a time. And believe me, man, I got clean. I lived in the building that I was just able to rent, that I worked out of. I lived in the corner. There's no running water, you know. I lived there for a year and a half. I went to meeting every day. It was like, it's like the freedom I felt. I was surrounded by a lumber yard, and I had come back from a meeting, going through. There's white knuckle part of getting clean, man. Even with the help and the support and the guidance and the direction, right, and the roadmap laid out in front, it's still like, hey, fuck it, there's that temptation. It's like, fuck it, I ain't using. And surrounding that building was a lumber yard, and there was a lot of heavy equipment. And I remember this. There was one night, fucking gratitude is so fucking amazing, man. But I was maybe struggling with a little something, and one of the pieces of equipment, every now and then, there'd be a safety buzzer would go like that, right? And I've been in enough joints, either visiting a partner, right, or on the phone with somebody, that signaling a move, in prison. And I heard that sound and I hit my knees and I went, you're free, motherfucker. It's like, you're not, and I've done a total of maybe 8 hours locked up, but it's like it was always there. When am I going to get busted? When am I going to do time? When am I going to have to deal with that? Right. And it was like, man, you're clean, bro. You're free. I remember hearing that and I said, you can walk out the door and go down to 7-Eleven and buy a pack of cigarettes. You are free, and it's contingent on me not using, right? So fuck it. It continues, man. How free do you want to be? Keep coming back here, man, and surrender your fucking self. Bring your problems here. Newcomer, you got a question, fucking ask it, man. Because there's no feeling that you're feeling that there hasn't been a fucking 1,000 people, 1,000 addicts in recovery hasn't felt the same thing. And you'll hear that and you'll be confirmed and you'll be affirmed and you'll be free. I love you. Thanks for the question, Mikey.
Woo! Love you, JJ.
All right, Milan, if I do remember correctly, you want it repeated. Was there a specific moment you first felt free in your recovery journey?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so it was, early morning of September 30th was when I pretty much passed on in that hospital. And then I ended up at some point getting taken to my friend's daughter's apartment. And the next afternoon, I wake up and I don't have a clue where I am. I have never been to this fucking apartment. Like I'm on somebody's couch, going from dying to like darkness to like I'm on a couch. And the very first thought I had, it wasn't I have to pee, which is usually my first thought in the morning. It was, it's over. Like that was my very first thought. It's over. Like the entire machine behind my obsession hamster wheel, it was like quiet. And I was like, I had no clue. I had no clue what was going on, how this was going to be sustained or anything, and so I look over and there's my two pieces of ID in my phone. I guess what they took me to the hospital with, and so I pick it up, and I call my friend who had come to the hospital with me. He's like, "Yeah, Michelle's flying out." He's like, "You better get your ass back to the hotel here and pack up." And so then after that, I had to call her, and so that was not a call. Your wife, you don't want to talk to your wife after you get shipped to the hospital and die. I'm just telling you, anybody out there, that's not like the walk of glory. It was like she was fucking hating me, and she's just like, well, I found a place for you to go to treatment. And at that point, I was like, great. I was like, great, because whatever had gone on had just removed any sense or reservation of powerfulness on my part. I knew that I like going to that point of death and being awake. I knew that I had lost the fight, and it was only through that freedom that surrender offers where I just stopped fighting the reality of who I was. I knew at that point that I was a failed addict, or a master addict, I guess, like killing yourself, like whichever one you want to call it. Like, but I knew that it was over for me at that point. And yeah. And so thanks for that question. It was beautiful.
Before you start the clock, Mikey, since you've been on the pastime, I just want you to know that I've been in the gym working on my acronym game. And I want you to know, if you thought my acronym game was strong before you got here today, bro.
He's motherfucking Yoda, an acronym now.
That's Mr. Acronym right there.
Hey, I'm gonna throw a couple just off the wall ones I know you haven't heard of, because I made all these up, and these are like long ones even. So I'm gonna hit you with sponsor, SPONSOR, serene person offering newcomers suggestions on recovery. You ever heard of sponsor? You ever heard of sponsor acronym? How about this? Meetings, MEETINGS, many encounters encouraging the individual needing guidance and support. Meetings. Surrender. You didn't think you could pull out with a surrender. SURRENDER. Stop using reasonable rationalizations and embrace new direction and experience recovery. Surrender. Bro, I mean, they're so long, I don't even think your brain can wrap around them right now, bro. I'm telling you. Program, PROGRAM. People relying on God relaying a message. Program. I got so many new ones. I got so many good ones, but I just figured I'd blow you out the water. And since today's on freedom, FREEDOM, facing reality every day, embracing direction, optimism, and movement. Let's go with some freedom. So yeah, you can start the clock. I'll take that question. I'm sorry. I wanted to just kind of like let you know that I have been.
Andrew, that was only one. I think that was only one E, wasn't it, bro?
Which one?
Freedom.
No. Facing reality every day, embracing direction, optimism, and movement.
Every day. Facing reality every
day, embracing.
Every day.
Every day, embracing. Every day is an E, and embracing is an E.
Oh, embracing. Gotcha.
You didn't hear the embracing?
I didn't hear the embracing.
I'll mess you up, bro. Love you.
Love you.
Andrew, was there a specific moment you first felt free in your recovery journey?
Not really, but as I try to sum it up in an answer for you, I remember picking up that first key tag. I remember having that key tag in my hand, and I remember like I began to like feel like I could trust myself. I felt like I earned that key tag, even though it was like, people really pumped me up, that hope and love that I felt at that meeting when I picked up that first key tag. Because I felt like it was something, and I wasn't using, and I wanted to still use. It wasn't like I was like dedicated to the program and had it all figured out. I still absolutely wanted to use, but I felt like maybe this might work for me, or I could try to implement some of this into my life and maybe get better somewhat somehow. Because like my entire life, bro, I managed that perception, and I felt like y'all were telling me I didn't have to do that anymore. I just needed to come in here and be honest. As long as I was honest, and everything was going to work out, and it was going to work out just like it should have. And it wasn't about the using, right? Like, it shocked me that like this fucking disease has nothing to do with the drugs. Like, this is not we don't have a problem with drugs, Mikey. Yeah, we started using drugs, and it became a drug problem. But like drugs, we want to put another layer on this. Drugs were our honest, natural solution to our problem. It wasn't. We didn't have a problem with drugs. Like we got a Andrew problem. My disease is right here, dude. It's right here. And so, when it's talking, my disease talks to myself in my own voice. He's a slicky boy, JJ. My disease is such a slicky boy. I can't even really explain how slick he is. But I remember not having to perform anymore. I didn't have to manipulate like that narrative. Like I remember sitting in these meetings and it was painful, but like just remember at first like sharing that I just wanted to use because people were like, just share where you're at. And all I wanted to do was use. So I remember just talking about how I wanted to use. And then people would come up to me afterwards and be like, bro, I needed to hear that shit. And I'm like, what? I just wanted that I wanted to use. Of course I said I wanted to use. I'm a fucking drug addict. And they're like, bro, you don't understand. Like I needed you to remind me the streets aren't going anywhere, man. Like I needed you to tell me that. Like right now, I like that was my reminder. I needed you to tell me that. And I just remember that really, really helping me out early. Just trying to own and know where I was at and being honest. It's really about rigorous honesty, Mikey, at the beginning. Because when we do that act, when we come out and we're like, hey, I'm an addict, I'm a drug addict, and you can't undo those words. Right. You can't undo those words. And we're not responsible for all that shit we did in our disease, Mikey. That's what our literature tells us. But we are responsible now for the shit we're doing now, like for our recovery. And so when I got that first key tag, it gave me some kind of like skin in the game to where like I can grab a hold of this thing and I can put this, I can get some kind of life back. I can get some kind of fucking traction here because I was cooked. I was just floating, man. And so that's where I was like, I might be able to do this. So thank you for asking that question. It was a great question. Pass it to JJ to ask that question.
Nope, Mikey asked himself now. Boom.
That's what I meant.
You would think, boys, you would think I've done this a couple times, and the questions I have written down, you would think I have a pre-planned answer, and I'm listening to you guys, and I'm like, shit, I got to answer this question. And to be honest, I don't know if there's a specific moment. I wish I could tell you guys it was when I came into the rooms. I wish I could tell you guys like a whole lot of different things because like I've been coming around the program since 2013. And it took me a long time to actually get to the point where I have a sense of freedom because I fought every single way down the pike, tooth and nail, with this disease, with a higher power, with a sponsor, with everybody, because I always thought in the back of my mind I was here for an oil change, right? And I experienced little bouts of freedom, right? I thought I knew what peace and serenity was, but like I would just go back out and use, right? And I sit here and I think about it, man, and I think it was when I finally let go of that resentment with the G word, and I started to establish a connection with a higher power and a loving God of my understanding, that like I started to feel that sense of freedom because like I felt it through other people because I build connections in these rooms, right? And I can rely on other people that you guys are my eyes and ears, right? I'm never going to forget this. Last year, I had gotten a new job and I pulled a fast one over on my bosses because I got some extra time off and I was like, ha, guess
Licky
what?
boy.
You motherfuckers don't communicate well. And JJ was the one that called me after the meeting when I shared that. And he was like, hey, bro, I just want you to know, like, your disease is alive and well. And I remember, like, just appreciating that, right? Appreciating that there was another person in my life that's not just my sponsor that's going to call me and be like, hey, bro,
He's
like,
good for that.
yeah, that's all fine and dandy. You did that, but just remember your disease is alive and well. And I was like, damn, he's right. Because
So I keep him
was all
around.
like, yeah, I got one over on him, right? But
That's slicky boy, bro.
That's
Slicky boy.
that's one of those moments that like the God of my understanding, which I formed a relationship with finally, I dropped that resentment against the word God, and that's where I started to find that like I'm not alone. And freedom, for me, right? Like when I started to build that relationship, it's like took a lot of weight off my shoulders, because like without that
Mm.
relationship with a higher power, with a God of my understanding, I still packed everything onto my back because I thought I had to do it. Like, you guys aren't going to be there 24/7. So I'm like, man, I got to pull myself up by my bootstraps and do this. When I finally started to develop that relationship, man, woosah,
Mm.
I can
woosah.
breathe. No
So
doubt.
listen, man, if anyone's new listening to this and you struggle with a higher power or the God
Mm.
word or anything, just keep coming back, man. We
Mhm.
get to develop our own relationship, and that's the beautiful turning point for this addict, man. And I'm forever
Mm.
grateful for it. And
I-
I believe now goes JJ. You get to ask a question. Love you, brother.
Real quick, Mikey, you said something about that oil change. It's so beautiful. I was in treatment. I remember watching these kids running around like doing stupid shit. And I remember this OG coming and pulling me aside and being like, bro, stay away from those kids. And boys are just getting oil changes. They said, we're here rebuilding our credit. Fuck them boys just doing oil changes. He said, we are here rebuilding our credit so we can buy a house. Like, rebuild our credit. So it was really, really cool. I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
I thought he was going to pull out an acronym for oil
No.
change.
Right.
Oh,
I love
okay,
it.
JJ.
Hey, Andrew, forgive me too, bro. I've
Yes.
been battling this sickness in my head. I got a sponge in my head. My kidney's been
Mm-hmm.
kicking, and so because I
You're
was spelling
forgiven.
well, embrace. I thought that started with the M, bro. It's like I'm listening to. So I missed it. I love it. I should
I
never
love
have.
you so
I
much.
should never have a question, Yoda.
Yeah, it was spell check.
I love you. I love you.
I love you more.
Hey, it's like this freedom comes from learning how this program works, right? From learning how the program so that it can work in my life. So my question, who am I asking my question
Milan.
to?
Me.
Milan, my brother, how does the fourth and the 10th step inventory ensure your freedom?
Woo! I love this one. It actually really takes me back just to yesterday. Of going over kind of reading step 10 actually in the 12 by 12 with two different sponsees this week. And that inventory for me, it dispelled the myth of my fucking reality.
Mm.
Every time I've done it, and so, first of all, if I'm just living inside a delusion or illusion, I'm not free. Like, I'm literally just walking around in a false world. But also, when I'm carrying all this baggage, and then it's cutting me off from being able to be connected with the universe, who is my higher power, right? Like, for me, anything, any disturbance essentially is a disconnection from my higher power. And the deeper the disturbance, the farther away I am from my higher power. And so for me, like Andrew calls me step 10 Starcic. And it's because, man, I'm telling you that not much goes more than an hour and a half for me in my life where I'm not making the amends for it. And and it's because now, um like, I was at that AA conference last summer, and the best thing I heard from someone, he said, is my serenity priceless to me? Am I treating it like it's priceless, or am I passing it like salt at a table? And
Mm. Love
and,
that.
and man, like anytime I'm feeling off, I know that I got some kind of fucking amends to make. It's like it's not that other person anymore, like I used to blame people. And that's that hour and a half window where it's just like sometimes I can really put it off on someone else, and then I finally got to come around to go, where's my part? Oh, it was me. It was me and my preference for this. Like, what I've come to see is, like, I'm trying to filter my life through love. And so if I got this sieve of love, and I'm just like, okay, what am I doing in this situation that's not loving? You know, like my daughter pissed me off last night and she works for me, right? And so if I put out money, I feel like there should be an expectation of action, more so than a social situation. And yet I still had to look at like, you know, if even if I'm speaking truth, am I speaking truth kindly? You know,
Mm.
am I actually forgiving here, or am I just still bringing up something else that she did? And it's just like, for me, I had to go for love, really. I'll leave that there. I love you
Ooh, I
guys.
love you, man. I love you more. Love you more. I'll take that question, JJ.
Milan, thank you for your answer, bro. Man, just stick around. I might learn something. Andrew,
Yes.
how does the fourth and the 10th step inventory ensure your freedom?
Um, that's a great question. Obviously the 10th step is my daily inventory, so that's the thing that kind of like keeps me right daily. But that inventory step, that fourth step, um, I mean, real easy, real quick and easy. Like it allowed me to see what the real problem was here. Um, I always thought that there were other circumstances that controlled my problems, and I thought that all these things were just roadblocks to me having like a good day, like all these outside issues that were happening, and I just always blamed all my issues and all my feelings and all my emotions on like what I wasn't getting from somebody or something or some situation. And the step four, um, my problem wasn't other people. My problem wasn't other situations. My problem was squarely this dude right here. From head to toe, I was the problem. And so, I was enslaved in my own hell, man. I was trapped in my own body, realizing that I was the problem. But what it does is it frees me up from those resentments. It frees me up from those resentments. Because when you write it out, right through the pen, we see the light. So my sponsor says to me, through the pen, we see the light. We write that shit on paper, bro, and it allows God to read it from the way I've been told and how I understand it. You put it on paper, he can read it. A lot of us think that like God can just hear our thoughts and just like log it in. And I'm sure that's true. But when you put that shit on paper, bro, it changes things. It makes it real,
Massive.
like someone's reading it, somebody that like it's actually there. And it makes you process it in a little different way. Like, I don't care what you do. We got a lot of thoughts that come into our minds throughout the day, right? And we might act on a few of them or whatever. But when you take the time to sit down and write something and you go deep on these questions, like these questions are, bro, like, it's really, really, really humbling to realize that like all these things, it's freeing too, right? It's humbling and it's like a realization that you have to come to, but then you can go, okay, here's where I can be free. Like here's where I can become a person. Like this is where we become people again. This is where we literally become like this is where we find out who we are. And so before that inventory, bro, like fear controlled everything. Was the underbelly of like all my decisions, fear and pain, fear and pain. That's it. That was all of my impulse actions and everything I did after that. It was all due to those things, and so I was able to expose that. Very clear. You expose it with step four, and then step 10 allows me to be right every day, so I don't have to go back and do that big step four. I don't have to do that paperwork anymore. I can stay right on a day-to-day basis and realize how I want to wake up in the morning as a man. Right. I put on my table what I can control, and I surrender the rest. Where I turn that shit over. Got to do it, man. I'll pass that to you, Mikey. Love you both. Great question.
Thanks, Andrew. Love you, man. Mikey, how does the fourth and the 10th step inventory ensure your freedom?
Ooh, this is a really, really good one. I really like this question. And I appreciate you asking that because when I got to a fourth step, man, like I didn't know uh just how easy it was going to be, because I thought it was just this big, bad, daunting task. And I was all like so worried about writing all this stuff on paper. And there was things that I was going to bring to the grave that like really was robbing me of that peace and that serenity, because, it needs to come from my mouth, just like I needed to admit from my own lips that I was an addict. These things need to come out. Right. And, the fourth step really showed me how I showed up in all areas of my life, relationships, with myself, just anything, right? And the fourth step showed me all that, right? And it allowed me to start. I say start to drop the victim mentality, because same, man, I pulled out the blame thrower and sprayed it everywhere, because it's your fault, not mine. I did this because you did that. I said this because you said that, and the list goes on, right? And like, I heard this, right, when we come into this process that, when I got here, it's like the fourth step is like unloading all these boulders from the backpack that I've been carrying around for my entire life, right? And then fast forward all the way to a 10th step. I pick up all these little pebbles along the way, and I don't think they're big deals, and I just throw them in the back of that book bag, right? Because like I'm not going to throw it anywhere else. I put it in the book bag. And if I don't have that daily inventory, if I don't, and I don't do this daily, guys, I'm just not going to lie to you, because some days like I choose to shut my mouth, because I would much rather not have to come and say something and tell you that like I was wrong, because that shit still tastes like vinegar coming out of my mouth sometimes, right? And you know when I get to apply and work a 10th step, right, it's just unloading all those little pebbles. Because eventually, if I don't do anything, that backpack's going to become just as heavy, if not heavier, right? And, it helps me, achieve all this stuff. I love that somebody just mentioned like surrender, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the last in the fellowship that I go to, right? I call it the interrogation manual. The last question is, can I move forward without complete surrender? And my answer to that was yes, because I'm going to fight stuff all the time. It's going to take some time for me to be able to surrender this stuff over, because I'm the addict that I need to beat my head against that wall a few times. It's not when the pain is great enough, it's when the pain is just right. And, again, I get to take a look at that stuff, not only through a fourth step, because I can always go back to my fourth step and find out the way I show up in relationships. But today I have that 10th step in place that like, I just got to be able to do it, man. I got to be able. I heard an old timer say this at a convention. You know, I hear people all the time talk about they have to continue to work these steps and redo them. He's like, just learn how to fucking live them. And I was like, damn,
yeah,
sweet. And yeah, man, I appreciate that question, JJ. I love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Beautiful answer, Mikey.
Love you, man.
Love you, bro.
JJ, you want to answer your own question now, brother?
Please.
I will. I'm going to ride a tide of, I was getting chills, man. And, newcomer, anyone that's trying to understand how we stay clean, how this process of recovery works, just pay attention, man. And I was told early on to do that. The fourth step and the 10th step, this inventory of looking at myself. I mean, that's where the freedom continues. Yeah, because the freedom of admitting the truth was like, sets us free, right? And if I do the first step, understanding what honesty is about, and I carry that into each step, and if I don't, I'm proceeding on some bullshit, which is why in our first step, we're reminded that we will return to this place over and over again, of admitting the truth. And that's what the fourth step was such an amazing, I had no idea what a prisoner, what did Milan say? The myth of my reality, right? Like I believe that shit. If I think it is, and this goes to today, if I think it is, or I think it isn't, I'm right, and I've got to get honest with myself, like, really, what is the truth? Because an addict wants to manipulate for power, whatever the truth is to suit the situation. So I'm comfortable, right? Pain relief, I love that, again, it comes out like vinegar. It's why I don't want to say it, right? Brother Mikey said, right? But check it out. If I don't do that, it's that vinegar stays in, man, and it gets more fermented, and I get fucked up, and my denial, my disease of, tell it
It's real
like it is.
douchey.
That's right. It's just, uh, when I'm accountable for myself, because that again, you guys have mentioned that. That's where I learned. Well, let's just say the vinegar comes out and it is replaced with honey. It just is. There's now a
Ooh.
void, there's something for God's will, for God's peace to come in. That insanity of the second step, man, is when I hang on to the manipulating the truth. And there's such a greater peace. But, for me to be accountable, I'm nobody's victim today. You talked about writing it out, and I remember the first time I was writing out my fears, and I could see them because they were in front of me. Because for all through my addiction, those fears were always in there, man. I never stopped thinking about them. And so, newcomer, when my pen hit the paper and I wrote the shit that I thought about for fucking ever, and I will use about it, and I remember, I used at my wife, man, because because she was having a baby, right? She's having a baby, and I ain't ready to be a dad or a husband, right? And the resentment,
Mm-mm.
because, and it took me into my recovery to realize, wait a minute, prick, you had something to do with that. You actually were there the night that the baby was made, like, but somehow it was like, you bitch, I ain't
What?
ready to, you know. But I mean, that's an addict in full fucking, overdrive,
You wait
man.
till
Just
I'm ready.
I'm telling you. But again, the things that come out that I didn't realize was motivating. Number one, my using, right, and my actions. So and then the third step, I turned my will and my life, which means my thinking and my actions, over to you guys. To God as I understand them. Um, and the relief and the freedom is so important, this inventory, and I'm out of time, but I ain't dead yet, and neither is anyone that's listening. So continue doing this inventory. And how free do you want to be? I love you guys. Thank you.
Love you, JJ.
Ooh, yeah, love that. Okay, I got a question for you, Mr. Normand. Okay, the living clean describes the relief of no longer living as an outlaw to our own values. What does freedom of a clear conscience feel like in your chest today? And how did surrendering your secrets lead you to this state of legitimacy and peace?
I mean, just you asking me that question, Milan, I just took a deep breath, and just having that clear conscience is that's what it feels like for me today, is being able to breathe and not have to like think about the after breath. I remember breathing in and like my thoughts. We've talked about this, JJ. That first time that I took that first breath without breathing it, like feeling any of my DOC in my mouth, like taking that exhale, that first exhale, and going breathing in, and it was clean breath, right? And then breathing back out, and it being really scary, and breathing back in again, and knowing that like I'm void of substances, and I don't have something to like calm that after breath. And then being able to be okay and sit in that moment, just for that moment, right? That's what they talk about, like just stay, like don't leave, like just hang in there, right? Like you've survived all of your emotions this far, right, Andrew? You've survived all of your emotions and feelings up to this point right now, right? You're going to be okay. And I just remember the like that first, like being able to do certain tasks, little things like brush my teeth, and not having like used like not having to feed, like he says, it feed the beast before I feed me in the morning, man. I remember before my feet even hit the ground, I was working a full day mentally. Before I even hit the ground. And so just that clear conscious, knowing that like I've done the right thing, to my ability so far through, and have coming into today. And I will continue to try to do the right thing. Like, regardless, if everybody's looking, nobody's looking, like, especially when nobody's looking and when nobody's going to find out. That's when you really want to test that goodwill piece, when nobody's going, when you know that nobody's going to find out what you did and you still do it. That's when you're living in that lane, And so knowing that I've been doing that for a little while now, and like, if something comes at me sideways, like, bro, like, it's obviously we need to have a conversation, because there's some kind of miscommunication there. And if I did something wrong on my half, like, I'll own it. I'll own it. It's very simple. I used to let, like, all those little things, like, build up. I like all these little 10, 20, 30, 50 little things. And then I would just be shutting down. No important shit going on, nothing like of real substance going on, but I got a bunch of little dumb shit, like folding my laundry, like all these little things, and I just want to shut the fuck down and not go to work now. And that's just my addict behavior, man. It's just my disease. It's not going anywhere. I'm told I'm gonna die with this thing, but I don't want to just die because of it, JJ. It's very important that I die with this disease, not because of it. It's a big difference. And so I love you guys, man. I'm done.
Love you, bro.
Beauty. Okay, Mikey. Living clean describes the relief of no longer living as an outlaw to our own values. What does the freedom of a clear conscience feel like in your chest today? And how did surrendering your secrets lead you to this state of legitimacy and peace?
Man, that just that automatically brings me right back to a fourth step. And the first time I ever processed a fourth step and did a fifth step with my sponsor, man, because like I said, there was things that I've done that I was taking to the grave with me. And talking about like morals and values, like I didn't, I never really thought about it until I came into the program. Like my father and my grandfathers, they raised me to have some morals and values, right? And I lost them along the way somehow, because I just threw them out the window, because I was a slave to substances and all of that stuff. And you know taking me back to like the first fourth step that I did, and even the preceding ones afterwards, man, like being able to admit to somebody else uh and seeing exactly where I was wrong, and having conversations with other recovering addicts, and doing that stuff, man. Uh, like, I love that somebody just said they're a sponge, because me too, right? Like, I'm a sponge when it comes to recovery. So like I try and learn from
Love
other
you, bro.
people. I try and learn from other people, man, to the best of my ability, because when I was able to, actually talk about the things that I was taking to my grave, because number one, like, allegedly, and number two, like, I was always afraid if you got to know the real me, you were just gonna leave anyway, right? So when I got to have that connection with another man that wasn't my father, that I struggled with trusting other men, because like, you were just gonna use this as a weakness, and get over, you have one to get over on me. When I was able to strip myself of all that stuff and get all this stuff out, man, I started to realize, like, that person that my father raised, that person that my grandfathers helped raise, is still there, right? I'm still here. And I get to participate in this thing we call life, and all these principles and all these morals that I had before, they start to click back in, and I'm like, oh. And somebody said it before, I'm not responsible for my disease, but I am responsible for my recovery. And that part of the freedom is rediscovering who I was long before I picked up the substances, right? And I love that, man. Living Clean is one of my favorite pieces of literature. And I don't even like to read, y'all. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't like to read unless it's uh, uh, a basic blue book, a Living Clean, stuff, and it's just because it was written by people like me, and they knew I was fucking coming. And that's what it is for me today, is just rediscovering who I am, because when I got here, man, I'm not as broken as I thought I was, and I'm not as good as I thought I was either. I'm just right there somewhere in the middle, and I get to be a part of this thing today, man. I love that question. Thank you, Milan.
Woo!
Love
I
you,
love
Mikey.
that answer, brother.
Thanks,
right.
Mikey.
Okay,
That's
J
right.
double J. Living clean describes the relief of no longer living as an outlaw to our own values. What does the freedom of a clear conscience feel like in your chest today? And it's not your pacemaker. And how did surrendering your secrets lead you to the state of
Low blow.
legitimacy and peace? No, I
Oh,
was
why
just
you gotta
being
do my
silly.
boy like that, bro?
Hey, bro,
I'm gonna joke with you.
I don't have no pacemaker.
Okay. Oh,
I got
okay.
I got four new pipes, and my heart muscle
There we
is
go.
strong.
That
Gotta
was
check your
just a joke.
references, Milan. Dang.
Okay, there we go.
Hey, we're
I think
good.
that was a funny joke.
You
I
Anyway,
gotta
love
start
you,
his
man.
timer over too. Damn it. I'm just.
yeah.
No, it's all good. It's
I
all
love you
good.
guys, man. I
You
love
know,
y'all boys.
I'm grateful. I'm gonna make him read the question again.
Okay. What
No,
does the
just
freedom of a clear conscience feel like in your chest today? And how did surrendering your secrets lead you to this state of
Control
legitimacy and
issues.
peace?
yeah. The you know, yes, being honest with myself, right? That is the key for me. It's continuing to be honest with myself. It's just such a point of freedom. Um, the for me to do this inventory, over and over, because I'll catch myself. I was reminded. Um, I mean, the freedom that takes place when I'm honest, and I was reminded. This is a year or so ago, but to continue like these little things that the pebbles we throw into, the pack, right? That my beautiful friend, she had called me, and I was pissed for some reason. I felt some sort of way, right? So I didn't answer the phone. I didn't answer the phone. I was going like, fuck you. Didn't answer the phone. When I talked to her later on, I told her I was out splitting wood. And like that didn't set well with me at all. My conscience was dirty. And when I called to tell her that, like I had a subsequent conversation, and I explained that, hey, remember I told you I was splitting wood? Well, I wasn't splitting wood. I was fucking pissed. And, you know, the freedom of that action, I mean, that's getting the vinegar out, because it was like, what an absurd thing. And really not an absurd thing. It was a real emotion. I was really bugged about something that allowed me to deal with the reality of what was going on. Well, read the last phrase.
The last phrase was, how did surrendering your secrets lead you to this state of legitimacy and peace?
Yeah. Well, and when I don't have the peace, if I've done whatever I feel that I need to do, like, and I'm still not in peace, I know that my relationship with God is weak, that I have not surrendered, that humility that I need to feel, because my need to have power and control or to manage, to think it's up to me, that's when I'll either overdo, like I think I have to be too much, or I think I'm not enough, and I'm not in that peace. And my relationship with God, man, it's the surrender again. I take my inventory and do what I can, but ultimately, it's surrendering myself to God's peace, and then being able to receive that um, is so much what this is about, and I'm so grateful for it, man. The ability to surrender. Thanks for the question.
Step 1, 2,
Woo,
and 3.
love
Surrender,
it.
identify, and turn that shit over, big dog.
Yeah.
We
Boom.
do.
Okay, so I'm not going to read the question again. I've kind of read it enough times. For me, I think that I watched myself successively take the wrong turn in my life, like so much, and it built up like just this massive library, I'll call it, of shame and guilt. You know, like I can like flip back through the decades and easily see some major events of people that got hurt, you know, and being in my addiction 37 and a half years out of 51, you know, it outnumbered the good ones really. And so starting to change the way I'm living, and I'm not saying I'm freaking perfect. Let's just lay that down for the record. But, you know, like trying to breathe love in my life, you know, finally it's like there's enough air for everybody instead of me just having to be the only one breathing, you know, and it's been a real journey of, you know, of incremental change, some successes, some failures, but, you know, like when I think of the agitation and tension level of those last 6 months of using to now, like I don't even feel like the same being. You know, like if I just do a snapshot of like now and then, if I look from me from today to yesterday, it's hardly nothing. But that's the beauty about tiny changes. You know, like for somebody starting out, like work the steps. If you work the steps, they're designed to help free you from the past and bring you back from the future. And man, for what it did for me, you know, it gave me my first guilt-free day in my whole life.
Hmm.
My whole conscious life. You know, I was crying
Hmm.
with joy for almost 36 hours after my first step
Step
five.
five. Step five. Yep.
Because it was just like unbelievably liberating to just let that shit go and stop seeing myself as a villain. You know, like that's one of the things, like whatever anybody said to me in my addiction, dude, I was at the whipping post to myself 10 times as bad. And that's the biggest thing is, you know, like learning to love me and the choices I'm making now is what's setting me free. You know, like other people are happy about it, but they don't experience the joy that I do from it. One bit. I love you guys.
Milan, that is where the raindrop became the stream.
For joy, the raindrop enters the stream.
Ooh. Real quick, we were talking about this the other day on our last podcast where like this lonely raindrop, which is that addict, right? That is coming down, you know, comes out of the cloud and it's like has no idea where it's going. It's just trying to find its way to something until it dies or whatever. And then we find our way into recovery. Maybe we surrender. And that's the process of where like that raindrop finds a stream or a river and becomes like the fucking it becomes the river
Part
and then
of.
goes part of the river and it like it gains so much and like the raindrop becomes the stream, right? And it becomes the bigger part of like this whole thing. It's just really
That's
cool.
a Rumi quote that this guy said on a yoga thing the other week, and it was perfect. Like it really means so much. For joy, a raindrop enters the stream. I thought that
Does
was
that
really
make sense to y'all? That makes sense to y'all, doesn't it? Kinda visually. All right, cool. I'm gonna ask you a question, Mikey.
Mikey.
How has responsibility become freedom in your life today? How has responsibility become freedom today for you?
Accountability, because I'm that dude, man. Like I didn't like responsibilities before because it meant like it was gonna, you know, take away resources that I needed to go get one, or take away resources that I needed to go do whatever. So like I always looked away from responsibility because like it's gonna be there. We'll get to that later, right? I pushed all that to the side, man. And you know, today, man, having responsibilities is such a beautiful thing, man. It's such a beautiful thing because like it keeps me accountable. It keeps me accountable to myself. It keeps me accountable to I hate it, but you know the financial institution what I have to pay a car payment to and insurance and all this stuff. Like I'm accountable to those people too, right? But more importantly, like when we're speaking in terms of recovery, getting commitments, being involved in service, it is my responsibility as a member of the fellowship that I attend with working knowledge of steps and traditions that I give back, right? It's my responsibility to be able to do that, right? And I take that very seriously because accountability is everything, right? Like we read that every single day. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we are actually creating our own problems. And that's the just for today, by the way, in case you haven't read it. So, you know, being able to take on all that stuff and not get overwhelmed. I heard somebody talking about that, you know, they'd have a full plate before they even get out of bed, right? And I always used to be the person to be like, oh man, God's not going to put more on your plate than you can handle. Like, if that's the fucking truth, what do I need God's help for?
Why we got to pray
Right.
so much?
Well, yeah. What do I need? What do I need God's help for? Right. And, I'm just grateful today again, man, that I don't have to do this alone and having these responsibilities and sometimes when I do bite off more than I can chew, it might be tough to swallow for a little bit, but hey, man, these are the things that I get to do today. Not that I need to do, but that I get to do today. And perception is always my reality. So when I can spin that responsibility thing and look at it as this is just another way of being accountable to my fellow peers and just life in general. It's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing because I ran from that shit for so long. And it kind of does make me feel like a productive member of society. I fucking hate bills. I didn't ask to pay them, but guess what? I get to pay them today. And I'm no longer a slave to somebody else's pocket. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing because without responsibility, I don't even want to know where I'd be, man, because that's what keeps me coming. That's for sure.
Love you, Mikey Dropper. That's Mikey Dropper right there. Remember him? Remember that dude? Love you, Mikey. You ready, JJ?
I'm ready, bro.
How has responsibility become freedom in your life today?
Well, like I already said, responsibility was the word that I hated and I would run from because I thought it was in opposition to freedom, you know. But the just for today, does make it clear that when I refuse responsibility for my life, I give away my personal power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mikey, thanks for that. Yeah, it was on a Richie Havens album. My higher power, my God loves me so much, man, because these little guideposts, man. As the old timer told me early, to pay attention, and it was on a Richie Havens album cover where he said, "Responsibility is simply the ability to respond," and and I couldn't respond when I was high, and I'm thinking that I'm feeding my freedom. But what after experiencing that reality, which is not a pretty picture, jails, institutions, and death, and anybody that's listening to this podcast is not a fucking accident, right? To get here, to be able to learn how to live, to be accountable for myself, to not be anybody's victim. And I don't know if we're going to get to my question, my second question, which has to do with self-support, but the freedom involved in that, right? And that has to do with my ability to respond, to be accountable for myself, to take care of myself. I'll tell you, as I'm listening here as well, we talk about bills, this, that, and the other. I've got a responsibility to me to not forget the freedom that I felt in Big Sur, laying down in a stream, and letting the ripples wash over me, right? I mean, I'm at a place that I have to readjust and learn how do I be responsible for my life today? I got a beautiful friend who lives a vagabond life, and we were talking about paradise, and and he told me, I love this. Paradise is found in the ditch on the side of the road. And I've done enough hitchhiking to know that in that moment, the paradise is in between my ears, right? So what I think, and it's in my heart. And so the responsibility that I have to acknowledge where I'm at, to respond to the fact that I want to take care of myself, because I'm not interested in having a pacemaker. Don't need one. I got a fucking heart that's working like a motherfucker, and I'm so grateful. I am so grateful, and how to respond to that, how to take care of myself so that I keep living with you, miracle motherfuckers. So clean freaks. You a bunch of
How to
clean freaks,
how
and
to
I'm
not
here.
hold a resentment for somebody saying I got a pacemaker and I don't have one. How about
Hey,
that?
you know what? I don't have it. It's a gratitude. It's a gratitude shot. I don't got one, man. I don't need one.
Love you.
Maybe one day I will, but fortunately I don't now. I love you guys.
I love you,
Yeah,
JJ.
I
That
love you,
was
man.
totally out of love and silliness, you
So
know.
I know
funny.
that's
I
I
know.
that's
We
know,
got to
I
give you
know,
good.
shit.
and I could see that you took it that way.
We got to give you shit, bro.
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah,
ask you. You ready,
yeah.
Milan? How has responsibility become freedom in your life today?
For me, definitely, the Mikey starting off talking about accountability. You know, if I'm not accountable, like it was when I didn't have to be accountable, I feel like I was tendency to be sneaky, and that tendency to be sneaky just brought out dishonesty and nothing. There was no freedom in a web of lies for me. But it also I mentioned it lightly earlier, but I want to expand on it that when I was talking about discipline, commitment, and perseverance, right? Like, I truly believe that our only conscious contact is in the present moment with our higher power. And to me, it's the power of that contact, the freedom, the serenity, the contentment, the love I feel that gives me all the strength. Really, like that is like my bulletproof vest against what life's got to throw at me, man. And so when I am practicing something in a committed, disciplined way, right? I don't have to worry about what is the next thing I have to do. So there goes one of the things that pulls me to the future all the time is like, oh, what's coming up? What's going on? It's one of the reasons why I set timers on my phone because what I realized was that I had a good memory. My good memory was based on me cycling on future events just like I did on drugs. And so I just put all my alarms in my phone and now I don't have to do anything but be here. And so, but also too, when I'm doing something disciplined, right? It means I'm repeating something I've found to be good for my life. And that also eliminates shame and guilt or worry about the past because I'm just like, I did the right thing right there. I got up this morning. I did two kinds of yoga. I walked my dogs and I had a smoothie and talked to my wife and came here. Like, I don't have to worry. What did I do right or wrong this morning? Like, was my two-way prayer sneaky? Oh, fuck. Like, look out. Like it just wasn't. Like, and so, like having a program that is inside the principles that can help you be present and the person you want to be, don't like living up to the responsibility of that program just eliminates 90% of my mental fucking shit going on. And it leaves me in a better position for the whole day. I love you.
You
Beautiful,
sizzle
bro.
pan, you sizzle pan Starcic
There's a
coming up in
pan.
here
Woo!
sizzling that pan, bro. All right, so I'm gonna ask myself, how
Yes,
has
this is a great
response?
podcast, by the way.
This
I'm loving
is.
you guys.
So
Yeah.
how has responsibility become freedom in my life today? Hashtag LLA. Well, before responsibility, I used to avoid, or before recovery, I used to avoid responsibility at all costs. As I think about it, um, bills, I would ignore them. Commitments, like what was the commitment? You know what I mean? Like it was just one of those things. But early in recovery, um, I realized I had to start taking responsibility whether I wanted to or not. Like life sucks either way. Like I'm gonna have to get through shit. And do I want to live a life of recovery, or do I want to live a life of like in drug use? And like recovery is fucking hard. Yes, it's tough, bro. This shit is tough. To stay clean every day without using it is tough. But so is staying addicted to drugs, Mikey.
Right.
Ain't that the truth?
Come
Much
on,
harder.
man. Come on, man. Let's go from nothing sauce to that. Let's choose one, right? Like, do we want to go to recovery? We want to go back to using. The streets aren't going anywhere. As long, if I'm working on recovery, at least what I'm working towards, I have some kind of buoyancy. I have something to stand on when I get to wherever I'm trying to get. If I'm using, bro, I'm just beating myself down. Then when I run out of whatever I'm running out of, I ain't got nothing to stand on. Not to mention, I'm not like connected to any higher power. I'm beating people over the head. Like it's just not a way to live if you want to live this, happy, joyous, and free life. And so, taking responsibility, whether I wanted to or not, like showing up to meetings, coming to meetings when I don't want to, telling the truth to my sponsor, that rigorous honesty, making amends promptly, taking care of my mental and physical game. It's all connected. And so, like at first, all that shit felt like it was something that was restricting me, right? And it wasn't. It felt like chains. And over time, I realized like that shit was freeing me. It's not a burden. For responsibilities aren't burdens. I mean, that's liberty. That's freedom. Having a responsibility it gives me structure, right? If I was just this addict in this world that didn't have any structure or responsibilities, I would just be left to my own thoughts and my own like scheduling process, which would be terrible. And I would be late to everything that I scheduled myself. Like it would just be a fucking mess. It'd be a mess. And so responsibility freed me from fear, right? Like we're going to have fears, but I'm talking about that crippling fear that would take me out. Fear of being caught in a lie, right? Like those fears of like losing a friend or family because of my actions, fear of my consequences, fear of myself. All those things are still there, but it's like a healthy fear now because I'm not doing the wrong shit anymore. I'm not stealing money. I'm not like doing that shit anymore, right? I'm going to work every day and I work and I come home. I got a little family thing going on. I got a stepson. I try to stay to myself. And so, that responsibility I was able to face reality head on at that point. You know what I mean? And I no longer had to run from that shit, and I didn't have to manage the lies and all that shit that, time is the only currency we spend without knowing that ending balance, Mikey. I've said that before. Like we just take that black card out of time and just swipe it, man. Swipe it. We don't know when it's gonna run out, bro. So I'm just grateful to be here with you guys, man. I love you guys. This really pumped me up. This is like my concentrated meeting. This is what I needed today. So I love you guys, man. Big time.
Love you. Mikey, you got another question for JJ?
I sure do. Hey, JJ, do me a favor. Pick number 1 or 2.
Choices. You got to unmute.
I think you said number 1.
I'm sorry. I've been hacking and spewing over here and didn't need you to hear all that.
We can't read lips.
Gonna tell you, like easy to hear it. Pick number 1 or 2. Well, why don't we start in the beginning, bro?
Ooh.
Number 1.
How has recovery given you freedom in your relationships with others, with yourself, or a higher power?
That ability to be accountable for myself, Matt. I was doing some writing about this last night, and the role playing. Ask me the question again, please. My mind just.
How has recovery given you freedom in your relationships with others, with yourself, or a higher power?
It's the process of recovery, right? It is, which it just begins with being honest with myself. I mean, that's the big deal. The disease is a freaking liar. And for me to, what I was realizing is that the role playing I've done, the responsibilities to we were just talking about my ability to respond to my life. and I missed addressing this maybe in the last question, put me in a position to be part of the growth of a business that supports 30 fucking people, you know. And from the dude that was living in a building that didn't have a toilet to use, to where I'm at today. My ability to respond by being honest in these relationships, that I cannot manipulate, what God can orchestrate.
Ooh, tell him.
And I don't know that if I don't come here continually, like the success of my life, if that's what we interpret this as, and I surely fucking do. I got 3 toilets, Mikey. So only
Got
one
two
of
and a
us,
half.
only
We
one
had
of
two and
us,
a half bath here.
only one of us would have to go outside to pee if you were here. But the point is what? The
No
point
sword fights?
is that
No outhouses. Nope.
what we learned. No, I got an outhouse.
Oh,
No
got one of them too.
slouching?
We 3.5.
That's what we
We
started with. But
3.5.
then, we grew into indoor plumbing, so it's all very
Let's
cool.
go right now.
My relationships, like I said, the ability to make that phone call and tell the truth, expose the fact that I was not splitting wood, right? Like I had an attitude, instead of trying to hide that, manipulate that. And again, if I tell you what I'm really thinking, you're going to leave me, right? Or reject me. And I have learned through a deep, deep 4-step inventory that if I'm worried about you rejecting me, I've already rejected myself. If my relationship with God is where it should be, then I'm not worried. My behavior is such that, if I'm rejected, I better take a look, man. You're probably being an asshole right now. So my recovery is built on my relationship with the rest of the freaking universe, and it means every one of you guys before I didn't give a fuck, whatever I could take and run with, use and abuse. And that's just not that way today, I need to love myself. I need to love who's, in my life and realize again that there's one ultimate authority, and it's a loving God as He expresses Himself, through all of us, and takes a lot of pressure off. And my relationships are not perfect, but my God, they're the healthiest that they've ever been, and I have an abundance of honest, exposed freaking relationships. I got nothing to hide, and if I do, I'm hurting myself. So I love you guys.
He said, Mikey, I'll call you quick and be like, hey, your disease is running right now.
Hey,
I appreciate that.
Your diction showing.
Milan, we're getting a little rule breaky. One or two. Do you want the same question or do you want the other one?
You know what? I'm going to go for number 2 because it's my lucky number.
How do you stay free mentally, spiritually, and emotionally when life gets tough?
Ooh. Well, short answer these days, I pray on it, but when life gets tough for me, I try to make sure, first of all, that I'm still breathing. If it's too intense, I'll go out and I'll kind of occupy my body with some exercise and do some prayer while I'm doing that. I literally ask for guidance on stuff, these days. And then I'm going to touch on it, and I've said it 100 times on this podcast already, but I've been doing this thing called two-way prayer that the Oxford group started doing there before AA, and I've been doing that pretty much every day except for like 4 days, I think, since July. And one of the things about it is like, for me, my 2 main questions are, how can I love completely today? And what can I surrender? What can I let go of today? Because I see, I'm like, what's coming up today? I kind of see my schedule in the morning, and I go through, and I kind of in my quest for guidance, where I'm doing the stream of consciousness writing, it's like kind of little visuals pop into my head about what could come up with people, what has come up with those people in the past before or whatever. And it's kind of like I get these little shout outs from my higher power. And, like today, this is what I heard. Be kind, forgive now, define boundaries, be prepared to enforce them, let go of anger, be free to forgive, hold no shame, be loving, speak truth and speak it kindly, ask for suggestions, listen for answers, stay connected, be ready for surprises, and be grateful for this lesson. And it's kind of like if I'm coming into my day with a few tools like that are swirling around in my head, it makes it easier because I feel like then I can tell when I'm getting off course quicker, because for me, for sure, I know when I'm getting itchy bitchy and twitchy, it's me. It's me for sure. And
Milan.
I need to step back, like I need to step back. Sometimes I need to step out of the situation, like one of the things that I would say is happening now is that I'm having an awareness that something's going on for sure. And I'm realizing that it's something with me. And sometimes the best I can do is step back, you know? That's it.
Love you,
I
bro.
love you guys.
Love you.
Very nice.
I'll take number 3.
There is a number 3.
No.
Oh, whoa, you got him. You got him, dude.
That's why he's my bro. That's no. Him and I have
brought a bunch of questions.
Half of his brain is half of my brain, kind of some things. I mean, we were born in the same area, same time.
There's actually a 4 too, just so you know.
Let's go with it. Let's go with it. 3.
You want to go 3?
Well, hell yeah.
What are some small everyday wins you experience freedom from, and how have you might have taken them for granted before?
Oh wow, that's a great question. A lot of things, man. I mean, but I'm so grateful for a lot of so many small things. Just we talked about breathing earlier, breathing without that DOC behind it. The ability to show up, man. The ability to like show up. I used to be the maybe man. And they talk about the maybe man, but then I was the maybe man that just didn't show up. Like they would say I was the maybe man just for the slight chance that I would show up, but they knew I wasn't going to show up. And just being able to hold my word and I try to be impeccable with my words. Like my words are my focus. Like what I'm discussing today, what I'm talking about right now is my focus. It's what I'm doing. And just the ability to show up, man. Look somebody in the eye, shake their hand, firmly, knowing that like I don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Like all these little things that like I didn't give a shit about in active addiction. Like just being able to show up and not wake up feeling like shit, having to feed that beast. You know what I mean? I got a God in my life. I pray every morning. If you don't know how to pray, push, pray until something happens. PUSH, something will happen. Something. If you keep praying, you got to pray. You got to be open to this thing you can't use. I want to just hit on something real quick because this crossed my mind. The newcomer and how important these newcomers are. I was in a meeting yesterday. My local home group, who's run by all OGs. Like there's a lady who has like 35 years who hosts twice a week, and it's just really cool to have like straight OGs that host and then like can really share their experience, strength, and hope on everything. It's a literature-based meeting. And we don't get a whole lot of newcomers just because it's a local meeting. And we had like 3 of them in there yesterday. And this woman, like we introduced them because it was like, hey, if you're new coming back or whatever, and they introduced themselves. And this lady, it was so beautiful because she just like broke down. She started, she just couldn't control herself because of how these newcomers made her feel. Like she broke down and like had to like stop the meeting because she was so overtaken by how important those newcomers were to her and how it moved her and how important they were to be in that meeting for her right then. And it made me emotional. It made me emotional. Like these little things you asked, like Mikey, like being able to have my emotions in a day, in a 24-hour period, go from like laughter, right, to tears, to like anger, to like joy, and like back and forth, right? and all that, right, in a 24-hour period. That's a full day. And I'm not using, right? Like to be able to do all that shit like in a day with my family, like other people in this world, and like it makes me feel a part of this world, right? Like it makes me feel connected to like, and like I'm not just like floating around in this painting anymore, Mikey. I'm a part of this thing. Like finally. And so that's my answer. I love you guys, man.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay, Mikey, you want to ask yourself? Except now you got to blindly pick 1 to 4.
Or do we get to pick for you?
Well, there's 3 of you, so there can't be a consensus. So I'm
JJ's
just going to
picking.
go with.
Yeah, pick it, JJ. Pick it. 1
Pick a
to
number.
4.
1 to 4. Let's hit 4.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You got a 4th question.
This is a like a fail-safe question. What kind of freedom are you still working towards? And I can meld 1, 2. I can meld 1, 2, and 3 together with all that one, right?
You won't do it.
Because,
You won't do it.
you know, the first question, how is recovery giving me freedom with like other people, my relationships with a higher power? It's very simply put, man. It's very simply put. I'm allowed to be a human being today. I'm allowed to make mistakes, and I'm allowed to admit when I'm wrong promptly, right? I've been able to develop that relationship with a power greater than myself, and like it helps me show up in just the one area of my life that was strictly transactional before I found the rooms, right? And that's relationships. It's my job, my duty to maintain said relationships and say, hey, man, I fucked up. This is what I did, right? It's no longer taking that blame thrower out. It's about owning my side of the street and saying, hey, listen, I did this, and I just want to own that, right? And then the second question, man, the spiritually, how when things get tough, I don't look at things as getting tough, right? I don't try and label anything as good or bad. My sponsor teaches me that there's no such things as big deals because I get to label what is good and bad. And if I start to do that, I'm going to start to use good and bad as a barometer for my recovery. And the fact of the matter is when I got into the rooms, nobody promised me life was going to be rainbows and hawk tuas. Nobody said life was just going to magically work, right? Nobody said, Mikey, you got clean. Life's just going to be smooth sailing from now on, right? Nobody ever said that. So I get to adapt when things get challenging. I no longer have good or bad days. I have okay days and challenging days, right? So how do I prepare for that? Somebody said it. I simply pray. I trust the process. I have faith. I have hope. I try and apply these things that I learn. And you know, the small everyday things, man, I'm going to just echo it. Feelings. I get to feel my feelings today. That's one of the many things that I took for granted before. And the biggest one being like, I don't have to fucking use today, man. That's worth its weight in gold. And I say that all the time for a reason, man, because like when I was finally able to stop using, lose the desire to use, and try and figure out a new way to live, right? It told me find a new way to live. It didn't tell me find a new personality and move forward, right? So like I get to build myself back up and in the light of the God of my understanding and what he intended me to be. God don't make junk, y'all. God don't make junk. And I'm just forever grateful that like you know the freedom I'm working towards is getting the fuck out of myself. And that's what I get out of step work, man. It teaches me to remove Mikey from the situation just a little more and more at a time. I wish I could tell you boys I was perfect at it. I'm not. I'm a human being. I'm fallible. But at least I have these other spiritual principles. And I'm just going to throw it out there. Y'all have heard me say this. My favorite one, humility, man. Humility, right? I get to just be right sized and come in and tell you and be man enough and honest enough with myself and with other people that like, man, I'm not perfect, man. I'm just not. I just get this daily reprieve. And I love y'all, man. I want to thank you both for having this podcast. It's good to be back. JJ, it's always good to see you, brother. I love you.
Come home, bro.
Love you too,
I love you
man.
guys.
That was a good one.
Here.
Love you guys. That was beautiful. Are you saying thieves don't break into empty houses? Is that what you're saying, Mikey? Thieves don't break
That's
into
right.
empty houses? Come on.
That's
I'm sorry.
right.
We can edit.
I've seen him. I've seen him spend some time there. But anyway, we got to wrap this sucker up. I got to head off to work. I love everybody here excessively. Everybody out there, tune in next episode.
Bye, guys.
for a buttload
Facing
of
reality
recovery
every
fun.
day, embracing direction, optimism, the movement. Let's go.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Please help
Love you
us
guys,
help others. If you'd like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.